what we have to do. Money can't help you. Rich man up feeling. Jack and Jackson on the land. Jack and Jackson on the land. All together now. It is of the British shall survive. The strongest of the strongest stay alive. A weak heart shall take us while alive. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Things and times so tough, oh yeah. Don't it get so tough? We never get enough. Japan dances on the land. Japan dances on the land, yeah. In the world today, tell me, things and times so warm, no peace, no day higher, the vengeance of Jaja, it must be on the land, it must be on the land, yes, what we are going to do. Money can't help you, oh no. Rich man up feeling too. Japan Jackson on the land. Japan Jackson is on the land, my brother. It is up the British and survive. Yeah, yeah. Strongest of the strongest stay alive. A weak heart shall take us while alive. If you have strong faith, you will stay alive. If you live with love, you shall survive. Live with love, my brother. Yeah. People, what is the cause of all the trouble in the world? Things and times so warm, no peace, no day higher, the vengeance of Jaja, it must be on the land, it must be on the land.
Exploring the remarkable influence of one individual over the vast landscape of Africa, this video sheds light on the enigmatic figure behind significant holdings across the continent. Unveiling the key player in this intriguing narrative, we discover that the man at the center of it all is none other than Jacob Rothschild, a prominent figure whose influence spans various sectors in Africa. Delve into the story of the Jewish businessman who holds substantial sway over diverse aspects of the African landscape. Jacob Rothschild. The most famous, richest men and women in the world are known especially because of the companies they own. That is to say that their names are easily attached to products and services that millions around the world buy. For Jeff Bezos, it's Amazon, while Elon Musk, it's Tesla. But what about Jacob Rothschild? And how exactly does he own everything in Africa? Well, Jacob Rothschild, 4th Baron Rothschild, is a name that resonates with power, influence and success in the world of business and finance. Born into a prestigious family in Berkshire, England, Jacob Rothschild has carved out a distinct distinguished career that spans decades. From his early days at the renowned family bank, N.M. Rothschild and Ampu Sons, to his founding of Rothschild Investment Trust and J. Rothschild Assurance Group, Jacob has consistently demonstrated his exceptional business acumen and entrepreneurial spirit. Currently serving as the chairman of RIT Capital Partners, one of the largest investment trusts on the London Stock Exchange, Jacob Rothschild continues to shape the financial landscape with his strategic vision and leadership. In the picturesque county of Berkshire, England, a young Jacob Rothschild embarked on a journey that would shape his destiny. Born into a family of privilege and influence, Jacob's path was paved with opportunities from the very beginning. His education played a pivotal role in his development, and it was at the prestigious Eton College where Jacob's intellectual prowess began to shine. But it was his time at Christ Church, Oxford, where he truly excelled, particularly in the field of history. Little did he know that this knowledge would become a cornerstone of his future success. After completing his education, Jacob Rothschild entered the world of finance, joining the esteemed family bank N.M. Rothschild and Amp Sons. This was no ordinary bank. It was a powerhouse of wealth and influence, and Jacob was determined to make his mark. With his sharp intellect and innate business acumen, Jacob quickly rose through the ranks, earning the respect and admiration of his colleagues. His dedication and commitment to excellence were evident in every transaction he handled. Jacob's ability to navigate complex financial landscapes and make astute investment decisions set him apart from his peers. But as with any great success story, challenges arose. In 1980, a family dispute led to Jacob's resignation from N.M. Rothschild and Amp Sons. It was a difficult period for him, but he refused to let adversity define his future. Instead, he channeled his entrepreneurial spirit and founded Rothschild Investment Trust and J. Rothschild Assurance Group, determined to forge his own path in the business world. After parting ways with N.M. Rothschild and Amp Sons, Jacob Rothschild embarked on a new chapter of his business career, marked by a series of ventures that would further solidify his reputation as a formidable force in the financial world. One notable endeavor was Jacob's bold bid for British American tobacco, a move that sent shockwaves through the business community. Although the bid was ultimately unsuccessful, it showcased Jacob's unwavering determination and willingness to take calculated risks. Today, Jacob Rothschild holds influential positions in several prominent organizations. As the chairman of RIT Capital Partners, one of the largest investment trusts on the London Stock Exchange, he oversees a vast portfolio of investments and guides the strategic direction of the company. Under his leadership, RIT Capital Partners has flourished, attracting investors from around the globe. In addition to his role at RIT Capital Partners, Jacob also chairs J. Rothschild Capital Management, a venture capital firm that focuses on identifying and nurturing promising startups. His expertise and guidance have been instrumental in the success of numerous entrepreneurial ventures. Jacob Rothschild's influence extends beyond the realm of traditional finance. He has diversified his interests and investments, including ventures in the property sector. His keen eye for opportunities and ability to identify emerging trends have allowed him to build a diverse and robust portfolio. Jacob Rothschild's impact extends far beyond the realm of business and finance. He has dedicated a significant portion of his life to philanthropy and the preservation of cultural heritage. As chairman of trustees of the National Gallery and the National Heritage Memorial Fund, Jacob has played a pivotal role in safeguarding and promoting art and cultural treasures. His commitment to preserving the nation's heritage is unwavering, and he has overseen the distribution of grants to support the conservation and restoration of historic sites and landmarks. Jacob's involvement in cultural and arts organizations is extensive. He has been a staunch supporter of the State Hermitage Museum, one of the world's most renowned art museums, contributing to its growth and development. Additionally, he has been actively involved in the Pritzker Prize for Architecture, an esteemed award that recognizes excellence in the field. But Jacob's philanthropic efforts extend beyond the borders of his home country. He has been deeply involved in philanthropic endeavors in Israel, serving as the chairman of Yad Hanadiv, the family foundation that generously donated the Knesset and the Supreme Court buildings to the nation. His contributions have left an indelible mark on the Israeli landscape. Furthermore, Jacob Rothschild is the president of the Rothschild Foundation Hanadiv Europe, an organization that supports various Jewish causes and initiatives. His dedication to his heritage and commitment to giving back are evident in his active involvement in Jewish organizations. But upon close inspection, Africa has not yet been mentioned in any of his business or philanthropic ventures. So how does he own Africa? Well, the secret is in his surname, Rothschild. Among the conspiracies that have been floating around the internet for ages is one involving the Rothschild family and their control of central banks all over the world. Well, it is no secret that the Rothschilds have delved into finance and have made a killing from it for centuries. From almost single-handedly financing the British war effort in the 1800s to pioneering international high finance during the industrialization of Europe, such as supporting railway systems across the world and in complex government financing for projects such as the Suez Canal, the Rothschilds have made a fortune in money lending. Allegations have been floating around that the Rothschild family control all the African central banks. Although many argue that central banks are publicly owned by a country's citizens, it is important to ask how the Rothschilds would benefit from controlling them. Central banks are in charge of the money supply in a country, and they can also lend that money. In the United States, for example, the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, acts as the nation's central bank, which is rumored to be controlled by the Rothschilds and other powerful families. The Fed prints money on behalf of the US government. Once it gives money to the government, the US government must pay it back with interest. In other words, the Fed lends the US government money, which must be paid back with interest. And of course, the US government always pays as it uses taxpayers' money, a pool that never runs dry. So how does this same system work in Africa? Well, this is through two megabanks, the IMF and the World Bank. In the aftermath of World War II, as nations struggled to rebuild their economies and establish stability, a major international financial institution emerged to address these pressing challenges. On December 27, 1945, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, was established with its headquarters in Washington, D.C. This global powerhouse, funded by 190 member countries, quickly became known as the global lender of last resort to national governments. The primary goal of the IMF is to promote international monetary cooperation, facilitate international trade, and foster sustainable economic growth. It serves as a beacon of hope for countries in need, providing policy advice, financing, and technical assistance to stabilize and foster the economies of its member countries. One of the key responsibilities of the IMF is the surveillance of the global economy. Just like a vigilant guardian, the IMF closely monitors the economic and financial policies of its member countries. Through this surveillance, the IMF aims to ensure that countries are on the right track towards macroeconomic stability and poverty reduction. But the IMF's role doesn't stop there. It also plays a crucial role in the management of balance of payments difficulties and international financial crises. When countries face challenges in their balance of payments, the IMF steps in to provide financial support. This support is made possible through a unique quota system, where member countries contribute funds to a pool that can be borrowed by countries experiencing balance of payments problems. When a country seeks financial assistance from the IMF, it enters into a unique agreement that comes with a set of conditions known as conditionality. These conditions require the borrowing country to implement specific policy, reforms aimed at addressing their economic imbalances. The purpose of these conditions is twofold: to ensure that the funds provided by the IMF are used appropriately, and to guarantee that the borrowing country can repay its debt to the IMF. But even before the IMF came into existence, there was already the World Bank. The World Bank emerged from the historic Bretton Woods Conference held in 1944. At this conference, representatives from 44 countries gathered to discuss the establishment of a financial institution that would provide much-needed assistance to war-torn and developing nations. The result was the creation of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, which would later become a key component of the World Bank Group. The IBRD's primary objective was to provide loans and grants to countries for capital projects with a particular focus on infrastructure development. Its aim was to support the reconstruction and development efforts of nations, ultimately reducing poverty and promoting sustainable growth. But the World Bank's influence didn't stop there. In addition to the IBRD, the International Development Association, IDA, was established in 1960 to provide loans and grants to the world's poorest countries. This marked a significant step towards addressing the needs of the most vulnerable nations and ensuring that no country was left behind. Over the years, the World Bank has evolved and adapted to the changing global landscape. It has expanded its focus beyond infrastructure projects to include areas such as education, healthcare, and environmental sustainability. The bank's loan strategy is now influenced by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which aim to tackle pressing global challenges and improve the lives of people around the world. As you can see, both the World Bank and the IMF have similar goals and objectives. Although they were established to help countries recover from the Second World War, they have since expanded their boundaries and majorly target African countries, which are often referred to as developing nations. These two mega banks offer loans to developing countries and use their almost impossible to pay back interests to get their hands on the real wealth, land and precious metals. But that's not all. An important part of their plan involves exploiting a country's natural resources using their covertly owned companies, refining them and selling them back to the same country, making a huge profit. But in order for these companies to operate optimally, they need a solid infrastructure, which is usually lacking in the so-called developing countries. So before the banksters even offer the almost impossible to pay back loans, they make sure that most of the money will be invested in infrastructure. These negotiations are carried out by the so-called economic hitmen who succeed by handsomely rewarding, bribing, or threatening with death those who are in the position to sell away their country. And with the Rothschilds firmly in control of the IMF and the World Bank, it is easy for the central banks of these countries to get their hands on these funds. These loans keep African nations in a perpetual cycle of debt, meaning that they are indirectly forever beholden to the Rothschilds. And with Jacob Rothschild at the helm of the powerful family, it is not hard to see why he is considered the Jewish man who owns everything in Africa, the Rothschilds family's wealth. So who exactly are the Rothschilds, and how did they stumble upon such great wealth? In the late 18th century, in the bustling city of Frankfurt, Germany, a family emerged that would change the course of history. The Rothschilds, a wealthy Ashkenazi Jewish family, began their journey in the banking industry through Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Born in 1744, Meyer Amschel was a shrewd businessman with a keen eye for opportunities. He recognized the potential of the banking industry and set out to establish his own financial empire. Meyer Amschel Rothschild started small, working as a coin dealer and a general merchant. He quickly gained a reputation for his honesty, reliability, and financial acumen. His business thrived, and he soon expanded his operations to include banking services. In 1769, Meyer Amschel opened his first banking house in Frankfurt, laying the foundation for what would become one of the most influential banking dynasties in history. As Meyer Amschel's wealth and reputation grew, he realized the importance of establishing a strong network of connections. He understood that in the world of finance, relationships and alliances were key to success. With this in mind, Meyer Amschel sent his 5 sons, Nathan, James, Salomon, Carl, and Amschel, to different European cities to establish branches of the family's banking business. Nathan Meyer Rothschild, the eldest son, was sent to London, the financial center of the world. He arrived in the British capital in 1798 and quickly set up his banking operations. Nathan Meyer Rothschild's business acumen and ability to navigate the complex world of finance soon earned him a reputation as one of the most influential bankers in London. James Meyer de Rothschild, the second son, was sent to Paris, the cultural and financial hub of France. James Meyer established the French branch of the family's banking business and quickly became a prominent figure in the French banking industry. His connections and financial expertise allowed him to play a significant role in financing major infrastructure projects, such as the construction of railways and mining ventures. Salomon Meyer Rothschild, the third son, was sent to Vienna, the capital of the Austrian Empire. Salomon Meyer's banking house in Vienna became one of the most successful and influential financial institutions in Europe. The family's connections with the Austrian nobility and their vast wealth positioned them as key players in the European financial landscape. Carl Meyer Rothschild, the fourth son, established the family's banking business in Naples, Italy. While the Naples branch faced challenges with the decline of the Italian aristocracy, it still played a significant role in the family's overall financial operations. Amschel Meyer Rothschild, the youngest son, remained in Frankfurt to manage the family's original banking house. Although his role was primarily focused on the Frankfurt branch, Amschel Meyer's contributions to the family's success should not be underestimated. The Rothschilds' banking empire expanded rapidly, thanks to the strategic locations of their branches and their ability to navigate the complex world of international finance. Their network of connections and alliances allowed them to establish a global presence and become the go-to financiers for governments and major infrastructure projects. The Rothschilds' success was not solely due to their financial expertise. They were also masters of communication and logistics. The family developed a sophisticated network of couriers and carrier pigeons, allowing them to transmit information quickly and securely between their branches. This gave them a significant advantage in the fast-paced world of international finance. As the Rothschilds' banking empire expanded, so did their influence. They became trusted advisors to governments and played a crucial role in financing major projects, such as the construction of railway systems and the development of the wine industry. Their connections with the aristocracy and their ability to navigate the intricacies of international politics further solidified their position as power players in the world of high finance. The Napoleonic Wars, a series of conflicts that engulfed Europe from 1803 to 1815, presented both challenges and opportunities for the Rothschild family. As the major powers of the time battled for supremacy, the Rothschilds played a pivotal role in financing the warring nations, leveraging their extensive network and financial expertise to navigate the turbulent waters of war. Nathan Meyer Rothschild, based in London, emerged as a key figure in the family's involvement in the Napoleonic Wars. With his astute understanding of the financial markets and his network of contacts, Nathan Meyer positioned himself as a trusted advisor advisor and financier to the British government. He recognized the importance of accurate and timely information in the world of high finance, and he developed a system of communication that would give him a significant advantage. Utilizing a network of couriers and carrier pigeons, Nathan Mayer established a rapid and secure means of transmitting information between his London branch and the European continent. This allowed him to stay one step ahead of his competitors and make informed investment decisions. For example, when news of Napoleon's defeat at the Battle of Waterloo reached London, Nathan Mayer was among the first to receive the information. Recognizing the significance of the news, he swiftly acted, selling off British government bonds before the market crashed. This strategic move helped solidify the Rothschilds' reputation as financial geniuses. Meanwhile, James Mayer Rothschild in Paris played a crucial role in financing the French government during the Napoleonic Wars. His connections with influential figures in the French government and his expertise in international finance made him an invaluable asset. James Mayer's ability to secure loans and manage the French government's finances ensured the stability of the nation's economy during this tumultuous period. In Vienna, Salomon Mayer Rothschild provided financial support to the Austrian government. His close relationship with the Austrian nobility and his understanding of the intricacies of international finance allowed him to secure loans and manage the country's finances effectively. Salomon Mayer's contributions were instrumental in sustaining the Austrian war effort and maintaining stability in the region. Karl Mayer Rothschild, based in Naples, also played a role in financing the warring nations. His expertise in finance and his ability to navigate the complex political landscape of Italy made him a trusted advisor to the Neapolitan government. Karl Mayer's financial support helped sustain the war effort and solidify the Rothschilds' position as key players in international high finance. The Rothschilds' involvement in financing the warring nations during the Napoleonic Wars extended beyond their individual branches. The family operated as a cohesive unit, sharing information and resources to maximize their impact. Their network of couriers and carrier pigeons allowed them to transmit information quickly and securely between their branches, giving them a significant advantage in the fast-paced world of international finance. The Rothschilds' financial support was not limited to the major powers involved in the Napoleonic Wars. They also provided loans and financial assistance to smaller nations and entities, further expanding their influence and reach. Their ability to navigate the complexities of international politics and finance made them indispensable to governments and institutions alike. As the Napoleonic Wars drew to a close, the Rothschilds' involvement in international high finance continued to grow, and their financial expertise and extensive network allowed them to shape the global economy and exert significant control over governments and institutions. After their triumph in the world of banking, the Rothschild family set their sights on diversifying their investments and expanding their influence into various industries. From mining to real estate and insurance, the Rothschilds left an indelible mark on the business landscape of the 19th century. As the 19th century unfolded, the Rothschild Group underwent a remarkable transformation, expanding its operations and influence across continents. The family's commitment to excellence and their ability to navigate complex financial landscapes propelled them to the forefront of the banking industry, solidifying their position as a global powerhouse. While N.M. Rothschild and Amp Sons in London thrived, another chapter of the Rothschild story was unfolding in France. The French branch of the family, known as Paris Orléans, began its journey as a railway company in the 19th century. However, it quickly evolved into a holding company for the family's banking activities and corporate investments. The French Rothschilds played a significant role in financing the British government's purchase of a controlling interest in the Suez Canal. This strategic investment not only showcased the Rothschild Group's financial prowess, but also solidified their position as key players in international affairs. Their involvement in the Suez Canal project opened doors to new opportunities and expanded their influence in the world of finance. With their sights set on new horizons, the Rothschild Group ventured into the realm of infrastructure development. They invested heavily in railways, recognizing the potential for growth and economic prosperity. These investments not only contributed to the expansion of transportation networks, but also provided the Rothschild Group with lucrative business opportunities. One of the most significant investments made by the Rothschilds was in South Africa. They recognized the untapped potential of the region, particularly in the diamond mining industry. The Rothschild Group's financial backing and expertise played a crucial role in the development of diamond mines in South Africa, contributing to the economic growth of the region and further solidifying their global influence. As the 19th century progressed, the Rothschild Group continued to expand its operations and establish a global presence. Their unique corporate culture, characterized by discretion and reliability, attracted clients from around the world. Governments and major corporations sought their advisory services and financial expertise, recognizing the Rothschild Group as a trusted partner in in navigating the complexities of the global financial landscape. The Rothschild Group's headquarters at New Court in London became a symbol of their power and influence. It served as a hub for their operations, a place where deals were made and fortunes were forged. The grandeur of New Court reflected the Rothschild Group's status as a global financial institution, commanding respect and admiration from their peers. However, the road to success was not without its challenges. The Rothschild Group faced controversies and legal issues throughout its history. One notable scandal involved a financial fraud committed by one of its employees, tarnishing the bank's reputation. Additionally, there were disputes over the use of the Rothschild name, a name that had become synonymous with power and wealth. In recent years, the Rothschild Group faced allegations of breaching anti-money laundering rules in the infamous 1MDB case. Rothschild Bank AG, a subsidiary of Rothschild & Amp Co., anti-money laundering rules in the 1MDB case, according to Swiss prosecutors. In July 2018, the Swiss Financial Market Authority FINMA concluded final 1MDB proceedings, in which Rothschild Bank AG and its subsidiary Rothschild Trust AG were found to be in serious breach of money laundering rules in the context of 1MDB. The scandal saw billions of dollars siphoned off from the sovereign wealth fund into the pockets of corrupt officials. These challenges tested the bank's reputation, but it remained a prominent player in the global financial industry, known for its advisory services and wealth management expertise. Despite the controversies, the Rothschild Group's legacy and impact on the banking industry are undeniable. Their commitment to excellence, financial acumen, and ability to adapt to changing times have allowed them to thrive for centuries. The Rothschild Group continues to be a force to be reckoned with, shaping the world of finance and leaving an indelible mark on the global stage. Since the late 19th century, the family has taken a low-key public profile, donating many famous estates as well as vast quantities of art to charity and generally eschewing conspicuous displays of wealth. Today, Rothschild businesses are on a smaller scale than they were throughout the 19th century, although they encompass a diverse range of fields, including real estate, financial services, mixed farming, energy, mining, winemaking, and non-profit organizations. And that is how vast the Rothschild family's wealth was made and continues to grow to this day. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.
Listen me. Hear me now. I frightened to live. I frightened to live. Now, all the thing, I frightened to live. Sing. I frightened to live. I frightened to live. I frightened to live. One more time. I frightened to live. Sing. I frightened to live. I build me a coffin. I make it my home. Because that is my only choice, this kind of life. I leave it alone. Because when I look around and I see man raping their own daughters mercilessly, man living with man, woman with woman. So how must I live? I can't understand. Look, I'm frightened to live. Why you? I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. A bandit in my face with a gun. Take my own ins and began to run. I'm in the station reporting what the bandit do. I was the same bandit I was reporting to. Look, I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. Come again, let me hear. I'm frightened to live. Where you? I'm frightened to live. One more time, come again. I'm frightened to live. Hey. I'm frightened to live. Hear me now. It is so obnoxious. When I look around, things I just hear and see, my God, how could I go on? Children killing children every day. Parents guiding their children to go astray. Tell me how those youths getting all those guns, and where in the world those guns coming from? Me see, I'm frightened to live. Where you? I'm frightened to live. You come again. I'm frightened to live.
We all know Africa was once almost entirely controlled by European nations, and that those colonies became independent. But most people don't know how this happened, or even why this happened. So in this video I seek to change that. In this video we will talk about how every single nation in Africa gained their independence. We will look at the general trends in Africa at the time, the struggles faced by the Africans, and why every country with colonies decided to decolonize. But before we can talk about how Africa was decolonized, we need to look at how Africa was colonized. So how did the Europeans colonize Africa? Well, the first colonies were set up either in uninhabited areas such as Cape Verde, or as coastal forts where Europeans would trade with the locals and supply trading ships going to and from Africa and Asia. Over time, Europeans would conquer small parts of the African coastline, but they couldn't go any deeper. But why not? Well, for most of history, Europeans simply didn't have the technology to defeat the native African tribes, kingdoms and empires. And it wasn't profitable to ship materials from Africa to Europe. Unlike in the Americas, Africans didn't die en masse from diseases like smallpox, and, unlike Asia, Africa didn't have spices which were lightweight and easy to transport on a sailing ship. So what changed? Well, Europe started industrializing. Repeating rifles and machine guns made conquest easy, steamboats made shipping cheap, and trains made transport by land easy. And in 1869, when the King of Belgium, Leopold II, started preparations to colonize the Congo, other European powers did not want to be left out and soon began their own expeditions to Africa. There are three main reasons why European nations wanted to colonize Africa in the first place. The first reason was to control trading routes. For example, the British wanted control over the Suez Canal for faster shipping to and from their Asian colonies, while other nations wanted ports where they could restock their ships. The second reason was raw materials. With factories, trains and steamboats, it became profitable to transport raw materials such as copper, cotton or cobalt to Europe. And the third reason was to sell manufactured goods to the Africans. With those factories, trains and steamboats, Europe could make things which were better and cheaper than those products made in Africa. And so, the more colonies you owned, the more customers you had. And the more customers you have, the more money you can make. And so the European leaders held a conference, the Berlin Conference, to decide how they were going to split up Africa between them in order to avoid a war over African resources. These countries were Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain and Great Britain, although Germany would lose all their colonies after World War I. So in the late 19th and early 20th century, European powers went to Africa to conquer it piece by piece. Some regions were conquered in wars, such as the Herero Wars, where Germany conquered the Herero people, while other regions joined willingly, realizing that resistance was futile. And some regions joined through something called a debt trap, such as Tunisia, where European powers loaned large sums of money to Tunisia. When Tunisia was unable to repay this loan, Europeans took control over parts of Tunisia's government finance. This control eventually destabilized the country so much that France could easily take control of the country. Once an area was conquered, this new colony would generally be ruled by Europeans who would live in the colony, or by pre-existing African rulers who would govern the colony in exchange for doing the bidding of their European overlords. In general, the Africans had to pay tax per person. This tax was usually the same for every African in that colony and had to be paid in the currency of their European overlords. So British colonies paid in British pounds, French colonies in French franc, etc. But how would native Africans get European money to pay their taxes? Well, there were two ways they could get it. They could either work for European companies in Africa, or they could devote a portion of their land to growing crops, then sell those crops for European currency, to then give that currency to their colonial government as a tax. Europeans would then set up businesses in Africa to exploit those resources, such as mines to extract gold, copper or diamonds, plantations to grow cotton, cocoa or rubber, and built infrastructure such as roads, railroads and ports to transport those materials to Europe. There, European factory workers would turn those materials into manufactured goods such as gold for jewelry, cotton for clothes, and most importantly turn cocoa into that sweet, sweet, delicious chocolate. The taxes those governments earned from this would almost exclusively be spent on administering the colony and providing services to Europeans living in Africa. almost none of the work those Africans put in was actually spent on improving the lives of the Africans. And things like this went on for decades, as Europeans expanded their influence over Africa for nearly 100 years. But not all countries in Africa gained their independence by kicking the Europeans out though. There are 3 exceptions. The first of these is the colony of Liberia. This colony was set up by the USA so free African Americans could establish their own country. This was done so that slave owners wouldn't have to deal with former slaves and their descendants, and as a way to provide African Americans an escape from US racism and have their own country. This idea was rejected by most African Americans. However, some did move there and declared independence in 1847, as was planned. The second was South Africa, where the government, composed mostly of ethnic Europeans, peacefully negotiated for their independence, which they gained in 1910. That said, South Africa was still closely tied to the UK. And the third is Egypt, which declared independence from the Ottoman Empire during World War I after the British helped to overthrow the previous Egyptian government. Egypt became a British protectorate for a while, but didn't like that, and in 1919 the Egyptian people started revolting. Great Britain decided that it didn't want to deal with this, wrote their own Declaration of Independence, and just sort of informed Egypt that they were now an independent country on February 28, 1922. But African decolonization really started after World War II. But why was World War II so important for Africa when most of it wasn't even a war zone? Well, this is because the colonial powers had just spent 6 years blowing each other up, and after the war were spending a lot of money on rebuilding what they had just destroyed. This meant that they didn't have the ability anymore to keep control over all of their colonies. A good example of this are the Italian colonies. Italy was on the losing side of World War II and had been severely damaged during the war. As a result, other countries were able to demand that Italy give up all of its colonies. At first, Britain and France wanted to split these colonies between themselves, but they too had suffered a lot during World War II, and so the USA and USSR could easily put pressure on them to grant independence to the Italian colonies. The first colony to become independent was Eritrea in 1950 when it became part of Ethiopia. Ethiopia had never been fully colonized by Italy and was liberated during World War II. Libya became independent in 1951, and the last Italian colony to gain independence was Somalia in 1960. The second major reason for African decolonization was the Cold War. The USA and USSR wanted to take power away from Western Europe and take it for themselves. When a colony would become independent, they would then be able to side with either the USA or USSR, with every independent country meaning less power for Western Europe and more power for the Soviet Union and the United States. As a result, many independence movements were funded by these two countries, as we just saw with the Italian colonies. And the third reason for African decolonization was African nationalism. This was an ideology whereby Africans themselves would demand independence from Europe to form their own nations. Africans would spend decades fighting for their freedom and independence, using various methods such as protests, rebellions, and politics. But the first successful example of an African colony gaining independence on its own was Gold Coast. Great Britain was aware that African people were asking more and more for independence, and so the UK decided to show the Africans the benefits of being under British rule, using the Gold Coast as their prime example. One of the ways it did this was by giving Gold Coast free elections with a parliament that had mostly Africans. The British hoped that by giving Africans more power, that they wouldn't have any need to ask for independence anymore. But this didn't happen. What happened instead is that an African nationalist party was created, which riled up the African citizens of the Gold Coast to demand self-government now. Its leader, Kwame Nkrumah, was sentenced to prison for 3 years for creating unrest in the colony. In prison, Nkrumah discovered that a person could run for election if they didn't have a prison sentence which was longer than 1 year. And while he had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, they were 3 different sentences, each lasting exactly 1 year, which technically meant he could run for parliament. And in the 1951 elections, his party won 34 out of 38 seats in parliament. And so Nkrumah the prisoner became Nkrumah the politician. His party began demanding independence from Great Britain, declaring that we prefer self-government with danger to servitude with tranquility. In 1951, the constitution was changed to give the Gold Coast government control of every part of the colony except for its diplomacy, military and courts. 3 years later, in 1954, the constitution was changed again so that the majority African parliament would become entirely African. And as the people kept demanding more and more freedoms, Great Britain eventually relented in 1956 when the Gold Coast Parliament voted to secede from the British Empire. And so, on March 6, 1957, Gold Coast became the independent country of Ghana, becoming the first African government run by ethnically black Africans, and holding a large party to celebrate the occasion. Next are the French colonies. France colonized Africa much earlier than most other European nations with their Algerian colony, known as French Algeria. This had gone on for so long that Algeria was now considered to be a part of France, rather than a colony, arguing that over 2 million ethnically French people lived here. General elections were being held like anywhere else in France, and the culture had become unmistakably French. But while the French saw this region as part of France, the native Algerians viewed the situation much differently. Nearly all commerce was in the hands of the French. The elections were clearly rigged so that pro-French Algerians would sit in local parliament, and the native Algerian population were second-class citizens in their own homeland. And this is where we need to look at the rest of France's empire. Because France was facing issues elsewhere in its empire in the colony of Indochina, which today are the countries of Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. The French had fought a war of independence there and were defeated by the Vietnamese. France was afraid that something similar might happen in other colonies as well, so it embarked on a policy of promoting pro-French Africans into positions of power in its African colonies. France hoped that this would show to the African people that they had political power in their own colonies without actually giving political power to the African people, while those who wanted change and more freedom for the Africans were removed from power. And so, without any political means to have their voices heard, some Algerians turned to violence. They formed a resistance group called the FLN in 1954. The FLN would attack military targets, to which the French sent more troops into Algeria, upon which the FLN attacked civilian targets, to which the French opened internment camps. As a result, the FLN members threw grenades into French-owned cafes, upon which French soldiers killed 1,200 random Algerians, including children, creating a cycle of violence that became worse and worse and worse over time. But while France was focusing its efforts on Algeria, Morocco and Tunisia began asking for their own independence. In Morocco, the French had put a sultan on the throne who was supposed to do whatever the French told him to do. But this Moroccan sultan became an African nationalist himself and began resisting their French overlords. Eventually, he refused to put his signature on French demands, so the French simply replaced him with a new sultan. But the people of Morocco were very unhappy with this and united in their hatred against the French. They formed their own resistance movement, just like in Algeria. And in Tunisia, the people were just as upset with the French. In their case, because France refused to give Tunisians more rights. They asked for democracy in Tunisia, which the French refused. So they formed a political party to gain more freedom, but their leader was exiled. So they went to the UN to settle the issue, but the delegation's leader was arrested. Eventually, Tunisians became so frustrated that they also created their own resistance movements. So now, France was facing wars in 3 of its colonies, and they knew that by trying to fight everywhere, they wouldn't be strong enough anywhere. And so, in 1956, both Tunisia and Morocco gained their independence so that France could focus on keeping Algeria. But as the news of the independence of Ghana, Algeria and Morocco spread across Africa, African nationalism began to grow. All over Africa, people began demanding for more autonomy. In almost every colony, the Africans were now seriously considering the possibility of independence. But France didn't realize this, and in 1956 it was still confident that it could hold on to all of its remaining colonies. The reason for this was that France had cultivated a group of African elites all across its colonies. They spoke the French language, adopted the French culture, and were in favor of the French government. The French considered them to be fully fledged Frenchmen, and France had been investing more and more money into developing its African colonies. They hoped that by making Africans less poor, that Africans would want to stay a French colony. But this didn't happen. Instead, Africans kept asking for more freedom. So instead, France tried something else in 1958. They gave all of their colonies a choice. They could either stay with France and have a democracy with their own prime minister, cabinet and parliament in control of most aspects of the colony, or they could become independent. France thought that the colonies would want to remain part of the French Empire. But the French were wrong, very wrong. In Guinea, the referendum was held on September 28, 1958. With 95% of the people voting in favor of independence. 4 days later, on October 2nd, Guinea declared independence. In retaliation, France cut off all government aid, recalled all of its French citizens such as doctors and government employees, and took as much government property with them as they could carry. And what they couldn't take with them was destroyed. From the furniture to the light bulbs to the government buildings themselves. And the other colonies saw what the French did in Algeria and Guinea and decided they didn't want to have those people in charge of them anymore. And in just over a year, almost all French colonies in Africa declared their independence. The first was January 1st, 1960 with Cameroon, followed by Togo in April 27th. Mali and Senegal on June 20th, Madagascar on June 26th, Dahomey, now called Benin, on August the 1st, then Niger on the 3rd, Upper Volta, now called Burkina Faso, on the 5th, Ivory Coast on the 7th, Chad on the 11th, the Central African Republic on the 13th, the Republic of Congo on the 15th, Gabon on the 17th, and Mauritania on November 28th. But because the colonies were underdeveloped after decades of French rule, these newly independent nations kept relying on French support, something which remains true to this day in many former French colonies, with France deploying troops in their territory and giving aid to the governments. But France would keep fighting a war in Algeria until 1962, until the cost of war became too much for them. And so, after 8 years of fighting, Algeria became independent on July 5th, 1962, leaving behind an estimated 350,000 to 1.5 million graves. While these developments were happening in the French colonies, the British faced their own independence movements, as all over the continent Africans were rising up against their European overlords. Great Britain had seen the cost of holding on to their colonies by looking at places like Algeria, Indochina, and their own war to support the Dutch control over Indonesia. Great Britain did not want to fight a long protracted war only to lose anyway. And so in the 1950s, the UK became more open to independence. The British were more interested in the resources than they were in controlling the government, so they were okay with independence if Britain could maintain access to the African resources. This policy is called neocolonialism. In Sudan, it ruled together with Egypt. Both countries were afraid of the cost of war in Sudan when the local people became restless in the 50s. And so both the British and Egyptians decided to give Sudan its independence on January 1st, 1956. In other colonies, the question wasn't so much about when to decolonize as to how to decolonize. And a good example of how Great Britain struggled with how to decolonize was their Nigerian colony. Because Africa is the most diverse place on Earth, with thousands of different ethnicities, and in Nigeria alone there were 250 ethnic groups speaking over 200 different languages living together in a single colony. In the north lived a mostly Muslim people who governed using feudalism, similar to how Europeans governed themselves during the Middle Ages. In the west lived the Yoruba, who had adopted various parts of Western culture, while in the east lived the Igbo, who were the best educated but poor, and moved all over Nigeria for a better salary. These were the three main ethnic groups, but among them lived 250 smaller ethnicities with their own unique cultures. Many of these groups didn't get along with each other at all, yet Great Britain was determined to create some sort of government with the Africans for an independent Nigeria. In 1951 they created a constitution that was so unpopular they replaced it 3 years later. In 1957 Britain did give self-governance to the Igbo in the east and the Yoruba in the west. However, after decades of colonization, the northern Muslims simply lacked the skills and knowledge to govern themselves. In fact, only 1% of government offices were taken by northern Muslims, and so they had to wait until 1959 until they could govern themselves. In the end they agreed on a system where the three regions would be able to rule largely independently in a system called federalism, which is similar to, for example, how the USA is governed today. But northern Muslims controlled nearly half the country and 75% of the population, meaning that they would always be in a dominant position. Not only that, but no national political parties emerged. Instead, parties were split along ethnic lines, with every major ethnic group mostly voting for their own parties. And so when Nigeria became independent on August 3rd, 1960, the Nigerians weren't all that optimistic about their own country. The results of this type of government can still be seen today, when Nigerian leaders find it very difficult to run their own country. And the reason for this can be found in how the British set up this colony in such an illogical way, with the country of Nigeria being more diverse than the entire continent of Europe. And in the other British colonies, they faced similar issues as Nigeria. But on top of having African ethnicities which often didn't get along, they also had Europeans living in those colonies who didn't get along with the Africans. Those Europeans were better educated, controlled most of the government, and owned most of the businesses. Those Europeans had a system which favored them while putting Africans in long-term poverty. And those Europeans did not want to give up power. So, how were the British going to solve this issue? Well, for the UK, the answer was to create multiracial societies where Africans and Europeans would work together under the leadership of the Europeans living in those colonies. Because apparently what Africans really needed was some white guy telling them what to do. The reason the UK thought this was a good idea was exactly because the Europeans were already in charge. If they wanted to put Africans back in positions of power, it would take years to teach those Africans all the knowledge and skills needed to run a country, skills which they had lost during colonization. So the British government saw cooperation under European rule as the only solution by trying to get Europeans to accept Africans as more equal, while also having power over those Africans. And of course, this didn't work. The Africans didn't understand why they should have less power when they were 98% of the population, and instead wanted the Europeans to go back to Europe and return the land and power back to Africans. In Kenya they started a rebellion called the Mau Mau Uprising, lasting from 1952 until 1956, because of the issues between Africans and Europeans. Great Britain saw this uprising and was afraid that more rebellions might appear if they gave too much power to the Europeans living in Africa, and so they decided to give more power to the Africans themselves. For example, Africans would now be allowed to choose which crop they wanted to grow, allowed to farm the most fertile regions which previously had only been allowed for ethnic Europeans. And Africans were given an equal number of seats in colonial parliaments as Europeans. By 1960, with the Mau Mau uprising almost defeated, with more rights for Africans, and with a plan to share power equally between the small European population and the large African population, Great Britain was pretty satisfied with their progress. So, in 1960, they announced that they were going to start the process of decolonization all across Africa, lasting between 10 to 15 years. But while the UK was satisfied, the Africans were not, and region after region became more unstable as they were told they had to wait 10 to 15 years before they could finally become independent, while still having to share power with the Europeans who were suppressing them their entire lives. As you can imagine, Africans didn't really trust their government after decades of colonization, and soon riots broke out in some of the colonies. And now the UK was afraid of rebellions popping up all across their empire and having to fight a long and bloody war just like the French in Algeria. Great Britain didn't want to have to deal with any of that and decided to just give Africans their independence. While this upset the Europeans living in Africa, the British were more concerned with an African revolt than they were with those small European populations. While most of the colonies lacked the education and experience to run a country, they were given independence nonetheless. The first was Sierra Leone on April 27, 1961. Tanganyika, now called Tanzania, on December 9th. Uganda on October 9th, 1962. Kenya on December 12th. Malawi on July 6, 1964. Northern Rhodesia, now called Zambia, on October 24th. Gambia on February 18th, 1965, Southern Rhodesia, now called Zimbabwe, on November 11th, Botswana on April 30th, 1966, Basutoland, now called Lesotho, on October 4th, Mauritius on March 12th, 1968, and lastly Swaziland, now called Eswatini, on September 6th. In general, the newly independent nations departed the British Empire on relatively good terms. The same, however, cannot be said about the Belgian colonies. The Belgians only colonized the Congo, and Belgian Congo started out as the personal property of the Belgian King Leopold II. Under his rule, Belgian Congo was turned into a gigantic corporation concerned only with making profit, regardless of how many people died in the process. But how did they do this? Well, Congo has a lot of navigable rivers, meaning you could take steamboats and travel from the Atlantic Ocean all the way into the country. This made it easy to send troops to take over the whole region. The Belgians then built railroads, mines and plantations across the country, often destroying the homes of the people who lived there. Soldiers then went to the villages, towns and cities and told the Congolese people that they had to work for the Belgians. And they were told exactly how many resources they had to hand over every time the soldiers came to collect them. This was often much more than a human was capable of, and so many did not meet the Belgian demands even if they tried. But the Belgian soldiers who had to collect the resources from the Africans were told that if they didn't bring enough materials back to their superiors, that they would be severely punished themselves. But if soldiers did bring back less raw materials than they were expected to, they had to compensate for the loss of income by killing or mutilating part of the native population in the hope that those who survived would work harder. To prove that the soldiers actually implemented this punishment, they had to bring back body parts of the victims, bringing baskets full of them to their superiors. Those who collected the most were allowed to return to Belgium early. Belgian soldiers would sometimes make the people kill or mutilate their own neighbor. They would force them into degrading acts with their own family. They would utterly abuse the population without consequences. The term crimes against humanity was created specifically to describe what the Belgians did in Belgian Congo and the policies implemented by Leopold II. I have never made a video where I wasn't able to read all the research materials, but this is the first time I did read something and I couldn't finish because of how brutal the accounts were. So if you want to know more details, I will leave a link to the Wikipedia article which shows testimonies and pictures. But I warn you, if you try to Google for more information or go to the wiki, you will probably find pictures and testimonies that are too much to handle all at once. And while things did get better when Leopold II died, it wasn't much better, with the Congolese population being kept subservient to the European population living in the Congo. The call for independence finally came in 1958, when some Congolese were inspired by the president of Ghana to start their own independence movement. This was so successful that only a week after calling for independence, the capital of Belgian Congo erupted in riots over discontent for their Belgian government. Just like in France and the UK, Belgium was afraid of an African uprising, so they decided to give some political freedoms to the Congolese people, just like the French and the British had done. Within a year, over 120 political parties were formed across the Congo, with the call for independence becoming greater and greater every day. So fed up with their oppression, the Congolese began to riot against their Belgian overlords. As a result, the government began suppressing the population, which in turn caused more rioting. Eventually, a region refused to pay taxes or obey Belgian laws, and there was almost nothing Belgium could do about it. Belgium had shown that they couldn't stand up against the Congolese and would have a war on their hands similar to the French in Algeria, except Belgium was far less powerful than France. And this is a very important point to realize. As soon as Africans were rising up, they realized that their European overlords weren't able to control them anymore. And so, the Belgian government relented and invited 13 political leaders to Brussels to discuss independence. The Belgian government wanted a gradual independence process lasting 4 years. The Congolese wanted independence that same year on June the 1st. Faced with an all-out revolution, the Belgian government eventually agreed on June 30th, 1960, and the country was renamed to Congo. But the Congo was woefully unprepared for independence because of the Belgian colonization. For example, the Congo only had 30 university graduates and 136 children who finished high school when it became independent. And so the Belgians still controlled many aspects of the Congo, simply because there weren't enough Congolese to run government institutions. On the Independence Day, the Belgian king held a speech, espousing the genius and courage of his great-uncle Leopold II for creating the Congo, and how very thankful the Congolese should be for everything the Belgians had done to them. Shortly before Congo became independent, the Belgian colonies of Rwanda and Burundi erupted in similar riots as in the Congo. Unable to maintain the peace in these other two colonies, the Belgian government also gave them their independence on July 1st, 1962, when both Burundi and Rwanda became independent nations. Next are the Portuguese colonies. Portugal was one of the first to colonize Africa, but it was one of the last to leave Africa. The reason for this is that they looked at the instability in the other colonies, such as Algeria, Belgian Congo, Nigeria, etc., and concluded that the reason those colonies descended into violence was because the Africans did not receive proper guidance from Europeans, concluding that what Africa really needed was a bunch of white dudes telling them what to do. And so, to prevent Africans from rising up in their own colonies, they implemented something called apartheid. This is a system in which Africans and Europeans would live apart from one another in many different ways, with the Africans receiving far fewer rights than the Europeans. For example, African politicians were harassed, African leaders were imprisoned, and African political parties were banned. On top of that, the daily lives of average Africans would be controlled by the government. They were told what job they could get, where they could live, and what types of public services they could use, and much more. When Africans refused to abide by these laws, they were put in prison. Through these actions, millions of Africans were moved from their homes and their land taken over by Europeans who would build plantations on them. As you can imagine, the Africans were very unhappy and resisted. In March 1961, violence erupted in northern Angola as roving bands of Africans attacked European settlements, killing Europeans and African migrant workers. The government was ill-prepared for this and took 6 months to regain control. Portugal became afraid that this type of violence would break out again and so decided on investing in their African colonies and giving Africans more rights. Unlike the French, British and Belgian colonies, they did not allow democratic reforms because Portugal at the time was a dictatorship. Africans could no longer have their land stolen, no longer had to perform compulsory labor, and were given equal rights as citizens of the Portuguese Empire. They also invested in social programs, education and economic development, because Portugal turned colonies into proper provinces, which were on equal footing with the provinces back in Europe. They were hoping that by improving the lives of Africans, that those Africans would stop demanding their independence. But African resistance groups weren't satisfied. Many of these resistance groups received funding from other countries such as the USA, USSR, Tunisia and Algeria. But the government was unwilling to give up its colonies and sent 50,000 troops to Angola to keep the peace. As a result, Angola would fight a war of independence between 1961 to 1974. The war ended when Portugal's regime collapsed in 1974 and the new government was willing to grant its colonies independence. It started with the colony of Guinea-Bissau on September 10, 1974. Next came Mozambique on June 25, 1975. Cape Verde on July 5th, Sao Tome and Principe on July 12th, and Angola on November 11th. The last series of colonies we will talk about are the Spanish colonies. It ruled its colonies similar to the French, with a ruling Spanish population, a small African elite, and a large African population which weren't counted as citizens. Spain didn't have a lot of colonies though, holding only what we now call Equatorial Guinea and Western Sahara, while the Moroccan parts were given back when it became independent. While the Spanish colonies did not see the instability we saw in other African colonies, the Spanish government was still afraid of an African revolt. And so Spain upgraded its colony of Equatorial Guinea to a province that was on equal footing with the other Spanish provinces, just like Portugal had done. It also invested a lot of money in this new province. So much so that by 1965 it had become the richest region in Africa per person. Despite these efforts, the Africans still were upset that ethnic Spanish people were in charge of their own homeland. And so Spain gave them more autonomy after a referendum in 1965. In 1966, the UN passed a resolution ordering Spain to grant independence, and on October 12, 1968, the Spanish territories of the Gulf of Guinea became an independent nation, calling itself Equatorial Guinea. Western Sahara, however, never became independent, because when Spain left in 1975, Morocco came in and it is occupying that territory to this very day. And so now there are only a few scattered colonies left in Africa. For example, Great Britain still had one colony left in Africa, Seychelles. It was not until 1964 that the colony began asking for independence. In 1970 they created a new constitution which gave more power to the colony. And in the election of 1974, two parties promised independence, and they won. And so Britain agreed to grant independence on June 29, 1976. France also still had a few colonies lying around in Africa, such as Djibouti. In 1960 they got an independence referendum, but this one was rigged, and so the results showed, of course, that they wanted to stay with France. They held another one in 1967. Which was also rigged, but the second referendum shenanigans caused resistance movements to pop up. They eventually kidnapped the French ambassador to Somalia in 1975, hijacked a bus in 1976, and performed various forms of resistance to kick the French out. So, finally a third referendum was held in 1977, this time without rigging the election, and with 99.8% voting in favor of independence. and actually becoming independent on June 27, 1977. The last French colony to become independent was French Comoros. This was done via a referendum on all 4 of the colony's islands. 3 voted for independence and became the nation of Comoros on July 6, 1975. The island of Mayotte voted to stay with France and remains under French administration to this day. But it wasn't the last country to decolonize, for South Africa still occupied the territory of Namibia. South Africa wanted to annex the region, however was facing opposition from the local population, which turned into a proxy war in the Cold War. The UN decreed in 1969 that Namibia become independent, but South Africa maintained its occupation. But in the 80s the Cold War was coming to an end, and both the USA and USSR pressured South Africa into giving independence, while South Africa itself had become fed up with fighting an endless war of independence. A ceasefire was agreed on March 1989. An 11-month transition period was created where South Africa would withdraw its troops, and Namibia became its own country on the 21st of March 1990. African decolonization was a hard-fought battle. There is no one reason why African nations became independent, as we saw in this video. Instead, it required tremendous efforts from millions of people. It took the African leaders to convince their people to rise up against their European overlords. It took the populations themselves to protest weeks or months or years to show their oppressors that they were no longer going to be oppressed. It took the influence of great powers to put pressure on the colonizers to give independence. And it took the whole world to come to terms with the plight of the Africans to demand that Western and Southern European nations give independence to Africa. African independence was gained with a lot of work, a lot of suffering, and a lot of graves. But independence hardly solved the issues of a century of colonization and underdevelopment. If you want a sequel,
listen me. Hear me now. I frightened to live. Why you? I frightened to live. Now listen. I frightened to live. Sing. I frightened to live. I frightened to live. I frightened to live. One more time. I frightened to live. Sing. I frightened to live. I build me a coffin. I make it my home. Because that is my only choice, this kind of life. I leave it alone. Because when I look around and I see man raping their own daughters mercilessly, man living with man, woman with woman. So how must I live? I can't understand. Look, I'm frightened to live. Why you? I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. A bandit in my face with a gun. Take my onions and began to run. I'm in the station reporting what the bandit do. I was the same bandit I was reporting to. Look, I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. Come again, let me hear. I'm frightened to live. Where you? I'm frightened to live. One more time, come again. I'm frightened to live. Hey. I'm frightened to live. Hear me now. It is so obnoxious when I look around. Things I just hear and see. My God, how could I go on? Children killing children every day. Parents guiding their children to go astray. Tell me how those youths getting all those guns, and where in the world those guns coming from? You see, I'm frightened to live. Where you? I'm frightened to live. You come again. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. Hear this. If in my ceiling they find coke and gun, is my whole family they carrying down. But if the police get caught with the same refrain, all they're getting is transfer to do crime again. You see, I'm frightened to live. Hey, I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. I'm frightened to live. Come again, let me hear. I'm frightened to live. Sing. I'm frightened to live. Music. Now you see this verse?
Ethiopia signify Africa. I was a boy and hear about such place called Africa. Even in the movies or what they taught us in school. So bad. Oh, Mother Africa. It was so bad.
Yes, you know, I say you're in tune to things in time, culture expression. That's where we're there, man. Time is a lesson learned. But yo, you have some people now try to confuse what is to be learned, what should have been learned. And also the fact that we're taught reparation when we're taught as Rasta before and as African Caribbean activists, repatriation, which was said is a must. Voluntary repatriation. It has left us. We are dream about Snow White. We are dream about Santa Claus. We're dreaming about white philosophy, white opinion, white social construct. When we have the tools. Everything you read about Africa by ourselves, and everything you see about Africa by ourselves, you see that Africa was a great, civilized set of people. Yes, Africa. You understand? People with morals, dignity, structure, everything. Even though we have thousands and thousands and thousands of groups, you understand? Because Africa is a continent. And we did, just like other people, for some strange reason, we have to find out what is the mental psyche of human beings that whenever they have a fight, the winner take the pillage, the winner take the bounty, which is could be things that them like, including peoples and mostly women. But then over here, so this place they call Europe, them call that type of behavior slavery, slavery. Yeah, that's what they call it. They call it after a set of people, them say them call the Slavs and so forth. So what I'm trying to say here right now is that we did that too. There's some people that want to make us Africans white as snow. We're not talk Caucasian people white. We're talk, innocent, like we never do nothing. Anything that you call wrong, they would say, they wouldn't like to say, they would say that we never do that. And then if you ask them, where's Cape Worley, they don't know. But them are nod them head. And then you ask them, where's the Nile? And them go to the Bible. You understand me? It's a lot of people in the diaspora that's assimilated, and in Canada and in America, that's assimilated mentally, and it's not their fault, it's because it's the education they receive. But why lie? I mean, it's a lie, it's blatant lie. Just say, listen, I don't know. And if you don't know, and you find someone that knows, that person would inform you, and then they would leave you something to say, well, here what, just check this out and check that out. And then it's down to you, because you really want to what? Repatriate. But when repatriation is gone out to the system, it's gone out to the feelings and the aspirations and everything else, then you're accepting to assimilate. So then there's no repatriation in you. And everything you deal with is that Africa is white as snow. What meant to be right, not white right. You know what I mean? So don't say that I've changed or slipped, No, man. I mean white as in purity, white as in white cloth, white as in what we call light. You understand me? Don't twist my words, and don't say that You know what I mean? Me I mumble grumble. No, 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 no. I'm totally in control of what I mean. And I'm trying to find the best way to say it. Suppose I say it in Swahili, how much of you would understand? Suppose I said it in Amharic, how much of you understand? Suppose I say it in Arabic, how much of you understand? See the problem? So then when you put this thing down to English now, you say, oh, he's slipping his tongue. Stop it. Stop it, man. Ring the bell, call Africa, and go to school and have a look. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we all did this thing, human beings. You understand? I'm tired of this Arab thing. I'm tired of this thing here where white people are tell black people and black people are trying to tell we, say, yeah, you know, say, the Arabs taught the European them about slavery, you know, and that's how come they put us, you know, they enslaved the Africans. Where did you get that rubbish from? And everything that you say, it's not something that you read. It's something that was told to you. And even if you did read it, you didn't look and see who's the author, who's the researcher and everything, who's the publishing house and everything. You don't do that. I don't understand these people. And then you want to call me a Negro and this and that and the other. And the people that never call me them something there, back down there, sir. You understand? People that call me Ethiopian, meaning black. People that call me Sudanese, meaning black. Go in your Bible and see. That's what they're saying. And the skin is dark and you understand me? And the hair is naffy wool like sheep and all of them something there. So who's these people? Then you know, say we African people? Okay. Then they call me Moors. You understand? You go to the Spanish people and everything, and that was in their language and their understanding to be African. You understand? And so forth. Now we come with another thing. And you understand? People are trickery, and we don't really want to learn outside of that box, you know. We stay with inside that box. You see? And then we are convinced ourselves. And now we have a generation coming now, confusing everything. And I'm saying, yo, let me go back and show and say, here what I'm, a repatriation with their work with, you know. Repatriation. Now, our people at home on the continent, some of them, enough for them, you understand? Them need to put in detention. You know, like school, the detention school, not prison. You know, where you dismiss them from the classroom, and in this case, we dismiss them from the political arena. You understand? Because they didn't come for us, and they still haven't. They still haven't come for us. You see? What they've done is lend them services to other people that has tell the biggest lie the world has ever known. Well, I don't know. I wasn't around. You understand? But you know that big lie. And now we see that they are devils, and we can't stop say that. I can't. You understand? So I want people to understand, you know, that things in time have not lost the direction that we say we are going upon, which is all about developing an infrastructure. Once we say we are staying in the diaspora and so on, develop infrastructure and do for self. You know, manage with self, educate with self, take care of self, you understand, health, and so forth and so forth. We have those skills, we have those capabilities, we have those true potentials. We're well educated. Not all of us, but, you know, I mean, the vast population, we are. Because in these places, you have to go to school, you have to attend school. And nobody don't want to attend school 7.75 years and don't accomplish or achieve anything. So we are that type of people. Even the one that don't get a certificate and everything is still a very, very skillful person because, you know, they were under pressure and everything, victimization by the police, hostility by the ignorant father that became a sperm donor and everything. And even then, they're very intelligent. You understand? Very bright. I should say very bright. Very bright. You understand? And they pick up the intelligence after them outside on the street, then go to library, everything, then they apply for college, they go do some access course and everything. Ring the bell next time you see them. Them they're Oxford or Cambridge or Eden or someplace, some top university. You understand? And so on. And that is us. That's factual. That's not talking just to talk to make say, well, some of we bright. No, that's factual. A sister that about 2-3 children to backside the man gone and everything, and she has struggled and so forth and so forth. Finish up with bachelor degree. Finish up with bachelor degree. She just stayed there, stayed the course. Right? And to repatriation is on her mind in her star. You understand? The whole African modality is in her consciousness. It's in her fabric. It's in her DNA. She not give that up. She not give that up. She not assimilate. What's up, my you? No, she's not doing that. She's proud to be an African. And she know to advance herself is to take herself back there. But with skills, not just saying, may I turn up. Which turn up? Now we outside in the West, whatever we gravitate to over Issa, we have to take over Dessa. You understand? And when it comes to education, health, and industries and employments and everything, that we should have been doing. And those people that call themselves Garvey, the UNIA, you're a waste of space. You're not following the script, and you have the philosophy and the opinions. I mean, come on, really and truly. And you all must say to yourself, you keep validating yourself every year. You have celebration of Garvey every year, and none of you turn around and look at the other one and say, "Watch out, you know something such drop out and everything." But where we there? We don't have 2 black style and a 6 black style. All we have is a bunch of black style stupid guys that run about the place and I sing and jump out and everything and I use Garvey name in vain. But who's saying that? A Muslim. Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying that. And some of y'all don't like it, but I'm saying have a look at it yourself. I mean, it may sound crude how I've said it, but look at it yourselves. And since he died, till now, and all these plaques, everybody's running around, want a Garvey Square, a Garvey House, a Garvey badge. What have you accomplished? Then you got his son lambasting the Muslims and everything, and so forth, and he's a Christian, just like his father, and still is not productive. Them just talk. Them just talk, and don't just say me talk to you now. You understand? I own things. I've developed things. You understand? And I'm still doing it until I die. The only difference is my life and my death is Islamic. You understand? So if you want to panic, that's your problem. But I'm not after you. I'm just trying to get your intellect. I'm trying to get your soul. I'm trying to get our morals. I'm trying to get us to return to our dignity. I'm trying to get us to realize that the light hasn't gone out, right? And all of this. You understand? Serious thing. It may sound crude to you, but which medicine you've ever well, I don't know, about that, because many of you are British, innit? Did I say it like that? Right? Because a medicine is a herb something, and 99 point something % of them is not something that is sweet. It's not all of them that bitter, but the taste is not. You understand? But these are the ones that are natural and good for us. You understand? And that's how I was raised. You understand? By my grandparents. And then my parents. That's how we was raised. So we know about that. But the other people, now you're dealing with a tablet here and a tablet there and everything, right? Now my life is mashed up because I'm following you lot. I don't have no other choice. So, well, I do. I need to just get up and go. Anyhow, so we are saying, repatriation. You know what I mean? And don't go Google repatriation. Go look in your dictionary. Go look in the Collins dictionary. You know what I mean? Yeah, and what's the other one called? There's a big British American Webster and all them. You understand? Repatriation. You see? And then ask yourself, after 50 years, in relation to Africa, what do we know about Africa? 50 years, what we know about Africa. Don't you see Congo, the Belgians, and now we have African brothers play football for all these people. All these people who ill-treated us and still does, because them extract everything from the country, and the people are living averse poverty. Sewage and everything. You see? Yes. And go to Belgium and everything. Listen, man, your food could all drop and you can pick it up and look and see if there's any dust on it and continue eating. You can't do that back home. You can't do that in Congo. You cannot. You understand? I don't care unless you're starving and you know what I mean. You suffer from malnutrition and everything. You not eat for 2 months and everything. Yeah, you will eat it. You will eat it with all the dust and everything. You will fight off the birds and everything. You know, you will eat it if there's any of them around. You understand? Serious, simple things. But what we're doing, we're representing these people countries. That's to show that we don't have no moral dignity in our being. Huh? We're not really reflecting on the evil that man have done to us. Should not. Hey, listen. In that Bible, it said that Cain and Abel had some disagreement. Well, not they had, but Cain looked upon him brother and just feels like the Almighty is favoring him more. And up to now nobody can tell you say how him come to that thinking. You understand? Because these are the children of our parents, the human family, Adam and Hawa, Eve. You understand? So this is this is what happened, and this is the rage, okay? And what did he do? He killed his brother. He killed his brother. So him kill his brother now, and he's by himself. He's by himself. Obviously, he now becomes lonely, innit? So it is also said that God has told him what he's done, and then he's asking God to support him. And the Almighty is in the Bible. It said that himself will put a mark on him that forever who sees him will not offend him. Huh? The point I'm making, even Cain in his wrongdoings was looking for salvation, looking for help from God. And he received a mark that anyone who sees him will not take revenge or spite him or anything. Cain. Now, that's the Bible. The Quran don't say nothing like that. The Quran just said he was ungrateful and so forth. But it don't say nothing about this mark and this and that and the other and so forth. But it was excommunicated, meaning that he had to, before him even get back to his mother and father, they were told of his event. That show you that God will control this thing, you know. You understand? And all of his, whatever they wanted him to have, it was made, all his provisions were made for him. And he was told by his parents that he has to leave and fend for himself from that day forth. Now, some people that say, yeah, where him get woman from? He got his brother's sister, because they're born as twins. So he did go, not to some other place where some other people, because there was no other people, so when I stop that strippiness. So him gone now to take care of himself. But he was a bright young man, naturally. He didn't go too far. But when the night come, he's coming over the corner to listen to his mother and father, because he knows that, you know, them have the circle and then discuss, and right? So he wanted to be there. His heart, his soul, everything wanted to be there. And what I'm doing now, not the talking, playing the songs, him start that. Him start to play songs, hoping that his brothers and sisters, you know, the rest of them, will hear and come check him. He's trying to attract them. But then the orders came again, you know. but it came to him that thou must go. You understand? So there was a distance, there was a disconnection between him and his parents and his brothers and sisters, the rest of them, his family. He was on his own. He had to develop. Cain. Now what's that? That's an attitude. Cain is an attitude. Disgruntledness plus murder. Commit the first crime. Gosh, man, shall we say the first crime in terms of human beings? Because our enemy, Shaitan, was the first criminal. But yet still Shaitan loved God. Him not love we. In a love we, the humans that God created and show him, say, watch us, show the creation, the human. That's our enemy. And anything that decide to walk that path and take that route, they're the enemy. They're the enemy of humanity. They're the enemy of mankind. They're the enemy of the flesh. So we have those enemies assure themselves right now on this earth since when? They've been hiding it, and it just busts out on October the 7th, 8th, and I'll know. The 7th is the people that have been victimized did something. And there's something was escalated into some catastrophe, great catastrophe. Then there's so many words that were used to justify, to extinguish them from the face of the earth. And the person them said that that's what they intend to do. And they're saying that these quotes that they're using is coming from the Bible, which is another lie. The Pope ain't said nothing about it, even though today I saw him trying to make the Muslims believe that, you know, he's still a representative of what they call Jesus and all of that. So I need to go back to that and listen to his thing and extract some of the lies from his mouth. You understand? Because we're the Muslims who recorded it. You understand? And we're the Muslims who were present when he was giving his presentation or his announcement and everything. So we ain't getting it second and third and fourth hand. We were there. You understand? And this we is a station called the Muslim News, right? In Canada, Toronto, they have bases in the US and bases, offices or highlight things in Canada and the US, and they're sisters. I mean, male presenters are on the platform, but these are women who have organized themselves, and we have the same thing in Minnesota. You understand? Muslim sisters, television and everything for years and years. You understand? But then the gangsters, which looks like me, you understand, come in and infiltrate them, interfere with them, and I can't not the news, the television and the news network, but the Muslims in Minnesota. You understand? Seriously. And I have to do that, say these things, because we're living good. It's just that nastiness always seems to come, and the likelihood of this nastiness is happening by us working for the opposition. I don't get it. You understand? So what I really wanted to say is that the infrastructure, I'm just bringing the highlights of why what is happening in Gaza and everything has a lot to do with us, and why we should be looking at that, organizing ourselves, strengthening ourselves, and develop some serious relationships and everything with people and so forth, because right now they ain't got nobody. And what would we have? We don't have no military support. We don't have none of them something. So what would we do? What would we do? You understand? And all those so-called artists, you see how things go? All them so-called artists that were carrying on and misusing our children and their emotions and redirecting them and influencing them and all that. The R. Kelly and now this one here and the other thing. And right? When the system ready to spit you out after they done use you and you've done their thing for them, they will do it. The one called Jay-Z come and him exploit dreadlocks. Him come and knot up him head and everything. And it become a fashion. A big fashion, but the rest of them don't see it like that today. Why I say, why you say that? Why you say that for? And that's what him do. Right? And it become a fashion. A big fashion. You feel a whole heap of people them that ones them that can't grow it, them have wigs. Rasta looking wigs. You understand? So what is that supposed to do? That's supposed to dumb down Rastafari. See? And then you have all the ones them that come now and say that them are reformer, them are jettison reggae music and everything, and them are Rasta, but then them switch. Them switch. Once them bust through and we give them the green light and everything and bust them and everything, cause we love where them are going, we love all the music, our sound and everything, them switch upon it, see? And everything. And then them take with girls and do the same thing. So we're in a bad state. Then we have a lot of the other ones, them come now, and them go on like them big and bossy and everything, and then them have to sign letters of apologies and everything, and bow forward. You understand? To get money, get pounds and get dollars. And guess what? Them turn up in England and take America and everything and put on big shows and everything and so forth, right? And all these people, you can see they are sellouts, assimilated sellouts. You see? So our foreparents, our ancestors, not feel good about these things, yeah? There's a lot of us want to go forward, educate with children, and get some independence and everything. And then you got these others here that are using communication, using multimedia and everything in the wrong way. In the wrong way, because them supposed to be musicians, artists and everything, and they're just, turncoat apologists. Huh? And then them turn up in England and they dip on Wembley, and people are turned out, and that's just to show you that we're lost. So what happened? When I have to resurrect Bob Marley, you understand? When I have to look for another Bob Marley. Right? You understand? A Peter Tosh, a Bunny Wailer. That's what I look for. Serious thing. And culture. So what me have to do now? Me have to resurrect. Right? Come here. Oh, this thing here. Learn to understand, that what is called Arabia or Saudi Arabia and these things, was a part of Africa. The Suez Canal is what the British and their allied friend them did. You understand? And separate the continent and say about them make it easier for accessibility and cargo and everything. That's what happened. Then they supplanted a set of people and moved me out from over there, sir, and up to now we don't know where them push we. You understand? Which is the general population, right? Mass amount of people where them push. We don't know that, right? And I'm always telling people, and you have to ask Britain what they did to the Habashi. See? Where did they put them? Where did they supplant our people? And stop pointing your fingers at the Ottoman. No, the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Khalifa was running Al-Islam. They were running Al-Islam. They were the head cornerstone. They were the institution of governments, the Ottomans, right? So the Ottoman didn't supplant no African. The Ottoman, him had him harems, and he made a lot of men that him had working for them them turn them into eunuchs. That is it, right? So this Arab thing is a lot of people, Persians as well as Africans. The Mediterranean people there are Persian. Where them? How you think them get crossed to what we call Arabia? It's right there. It's very close. And then when you go back and you read your own Bible about the Red Sea and everything, then you see all them part the Suez Canal, and you will see where the sea was. See it? And then that, listen here. And when I went to school and did some geography, but maybe you didn't do no geography. The only geography you know is when you had the A to Z. Right? And now you go through all these different maps and everything. You get the wrong thing, and you get all of these so-called black minded people that come up with all sorts of something and using different definitions and different right? So they select different scribes of maps and everything and words that are put upon the thing. Because, you know, there's some of them that come up on YouTube and everything, and the thing said Negroes and Moors. See? And these things supposed to be like 10 something. And I'm saying, yo, English was never around. What you doing? And they said, what? I said, English wasn't created yet. And neither were they using Latin yet. So where you get this something from? Nah, you're only saying that because you're Muslim. So I said, listen, it has nothing to do with no Muslim, no religion, no nothing. You understand? And the worst thing for you to do now is to tell me that you have some scriptures from there. And what language are you working with? And where did you get this paper? Right? And you know what I mean? Because we have to be sharp. We have to be sharp. So, yo, let me go back over here. Let me go to Ethiopia, Abyssinia. You see? Okay. Come here.
Ethiopia signify Africa. I was a boy and hear about such place called Africa. Even in the movies are what they taught us in school. It was so bad. Oh, Mother Africa.
Yeah, I'm telling them youth them out there now. Don't try. Hey, yo, listen here. Link the station, but don't try copy me. You fall yourself into a ditch. You understand? Because so we stay. You understand? And now yesterday we go around the corner, and so we grow. You understand me? Okay. Come here. Stop it. What's your name? Come here. Hey, mommy.
Who's the greatest Rastaman of them all?
Yo, stop it, man. You have too much experience. Me, I tell you, man. Is it there? Or so we grow. You see? Whenever it's hatch yesterday and come around and just try follow this one and that one, you know. It's self. You understand? A meat, our thing. You understand? See, I'm the one that teach the one that teach I. So how can I ever defy I? Can never do it. You understand? Rasta Proverbs. Come here.
Who's the greatest Rastaman of them all?
Tell them.
Extractions. Baby father. Spiritual education. Proverbs, extractions, bring father.
Yeah, you think say them can, hey, listen here. All the nasty thing that them come up with to suppress reggae music and everything. The issue really is, you know, the real concern is that we're old now, see, and everything. And the government in our yard haven't organized and support and everything, the reggae fraternity. See? So that's one. But then you get all of these different people that come up with all the European money and everything and seduce our generation. And then them suppress our elders and the musicians them from getting stage shows and everything and getting airplay. See? That's what they've done. You understand? So them use their money and their spotlight and everything to project other things and create this image and this distortion. Undress our girls, get them money and everything, and you get a whole heap of vulgarity, images and everything. That is gone to America, gone to the whole Caribbean, gone to Europe and everything. And we are looking very bad, right? It's a very bad image, right? It's terrible. And then to see that our culture attaches and our executives and our commissioners and these people, they're not doing anything, right? They're not doing anything because, you know, sex is a big sell, right? And man, as he's left to be wild, he get aroused. So they're working with that. Even the preacher to back foot, him can't help looking at the backside and the big breast of the woman. And the reason why him do that now is when them come, is the way them dress. And then the young people that him have in the church at work and everything, and he's got them there because he want to attract more people than him should have get people because of the teaching, but him not teach. So him come not preaching either. So him come now with some other thing to influence. So then the people them come and wear some exact clothes and them dance and everything in the church. So where you think them do? Them do bogle in the church. So even the preacher is tempted because you talk about about females. You understand? You're talking about females. Whether they're attractive or not, you know, the sexual prowess is what is going to trigger man. And right now they're triggering women. Women are triggering women too. You know? Hey, yo, the thing gone upside crazy. You see? So we have allowed some serious degradation and everything in a way, and we're not that. That's 100% by me, and we're not that. We are highly moral people. Our grandparents and everything wasn't worthless. They weren't. You understand? Yo, come back here. I love you bad. Come.
Who's the greatest Rasta man of them all?
Proverbs, extractions, bring father, spiritual education. Proverbs, extractions, bring father, spiritual elevation.
Teach.
Enter not in the path of the wicked.
Again.
Now go not in the way of evil men.
Teach.
For they eat the bread of wickedness.
Again.
And they drink the wine of violence.
Yeah, so you see what now? Aisha, she go home, see? And search for a rhythm, for a sound, for a band, so that I can just shut up about Africa or call me home. So come listen this now. Come here.
Africa must be my number one. 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 Freedom, everyone the wrong. Reality, everyone the wrong. Creation, everyone the wrong. Humility, slavery is on the reign. I say we don't want no peace. We don't want no peace. All we need is equal rights now. I say we don't want no peace. We don't want no peace. All we need is equal rights now. Sons and daughters of Africa now. It's time to get yourself together to fight for our brothers and sisters in the oppressed countries of this world. I say we are all African warriors. We are all African warriors. I say we are all African warriors. We are all African warriors. I say we don't want no peace. We don't want no peace. All we need is equal rights now.
See, at that me I wait for a long time, you know. Me I tell you, man. So you know what? You have to go there. You understand? Oh, come on, man. Aisha, give thanks. We love you. Love you, love you, love you. Bad, 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 bad. Yo, you could all be what? Them see you was 9, you know, Aisha. What happened? You understand? Oh, they don't need to know that you're my stepdaughter. What are you talking about? I'm going to show you on screen, you know.
You are me sister, yeah. We are you brother. God loves us all. Ooh, let's love each other. Come, we go reason now. Come, we go reason now. Come, we go walk and talk. Come, we go reason now. No fussing or fighting, we're going forward. We are no warrior, but we are conqueror. Come, we go reason now. Come, we go reason now.
See, I love telling you, no. When I play reggae music, you know, I'm a Bible that, you know. You understand me? But I tell you, no, seriously. So we're giving her like 2 more and we're gone, you know. Give thanks. See, everybody have for them culture, see? So some people want to go and like say, we not have none, right? And they want, really and truly, they're demoting our culture. You see? And we're allowing it to happen. We are allowing it to happen. You see? So when people them demote with culture like that now, it is that we're not, you understand? And that's not the case. We have a culture. We have a very dignified, respectful, fruitful culture because education is culture. Creativity is culture. Behavior is culture. Not just music and entertainment. You understand? So sometimes it begs me to wonder now, where people get them something there from? Huh? Where them get that thought from? See? And that's people who care not to learn. You understand? Seriously, they care not to learn. Right? So them just go down this pathway, right, where them just take entertainment, plain amusement as the key. So our point, what you say? Your full point now? Stop it, man.
Freedom fighters moving on the African border. Freedom fighters moving on the African border. All my brothers in America and all my sisters in Canada. Also in England, unite to free up the mother's land, the freedom fighter. Moving on the African border, freedom fighters. Moving on the African border. All your sophisticated weapon and your nuclear missile in the sky.
See what me I say? When I must follow me, you know, seriously, you show me dangerous. Man, them just come now and say, him I forgot. Yeah? The warmonger and him friend him that make money out of war and munitions and everything. Man, just tell this other man here, this stupid boy, that here I'm gonna get this missile now so you can fire in a Moscow. See? I'm giving these missiles so you can fire in a Moscow and mash up the place and everything. Yo, what kind of consequences you work with? Huh? Man, I work with nothing. Man can't even overstand himself. And the people them who back the thing ain't turn around saying, listen, don't bother do that. Man, just come up with something and it's there in the Amazon, you know, right? Them supposed to have a conference. What the new the financial group name? I'm gonna try to head that off, and at the same time, them there with them physicians in the Amazon farm, not farm, the Amazon area. I don't want to call it jungle, you know, right? And everything. I look medicine, cause it is the largest outpost on the earth where we can get proper things from. You understand? And may God help them people there. You understand? Because these so-called Bill Gates and all these other people are them places that them people don't want to see, you know. They want to go there, extract all the forests and everything, but them are developed and then telling people that they're controlling the world atmosphere, climatic, this and that. And them are cut down things. Anyway, so the man say, him gonna do this. Now this British, he must say something. And really and truly, he's gonna follow suit. So this man here now, that's the elect president and everything. Whatever him does know and how him and does feel and who backs him and everything, this man keeps this fighting thing, him not work with the gun thing, you know. Him not work with the munition thing. Him not work with selling war and death and everything, you know. He not working that. I tell you, man, the man different. You understand? So, who him don't have in him pocket, them listen to him reasoning. You understand? Because him have a lot of them in him pocket and him safe and everything. So them can't, them have to do as they told. Right? Nero is rough. Nero is rough. The people them that get arrested and sentenced and everything for the upheaval at the Senate and everything, you gotta let them out. You understand? The man rough star. But you understand, if I was in his place, I'd do the same, man. We I deal with are just natural things. But the man is rough star. So this person here now, him want to start war things. And that you there that doing this thing over there, him a got trigger off, right, with NATO and everything. A war. Start. I don't want to dead from munitions and, you understand? I'm going to drop something now that get out of hand and then we're going to blame China for it. You understand? 'Cause somebody got to deal with some chemical nonsense as well. Terrible. So when I hear half pint, come again half pint.
Moving on the African border, family war, freedom fighters. Moving on the African border. All your sophisticated weapon and your nuclear missile in the time they ain't worthwhile. We gonna tear down your wall of thunder, freedom fighter. Moving on the African border.
Yes, so what we have now there at Africa, we have that part there that take place in Europe. You understand? And what we have there Africa. In Nigeria right now, we have children, people are suffer. And there's water, but there's something that them can't find out what this something is that's affecting children. Huh? And the children, them look like back in the 60s, the Biafrans, they don't have much flesh upon them body and everything. And who you think is inside these clinics? Caucasians. And the Red Cross is there with their cameras and everything. And this is Nigeria. Eastern side of Nigeria. And then they're saying about Boko Haram did this and everything and so forth and blah, blah, blah. And the area is, there's people, but it looked like a desert. And then another side of the same area is flooded. More than 50 miles to one side. I don't know if it's the east or the west or the north or whatever side, or the same, in the same district. It's flooded. And on the other side, there's no water. And the people them is standing around. And I'm saying, yo, here one. You don't know so that you can just do some irrigation work, and they know that. So who's instructing who? Who's creating these images? And then the national government wasn't there. And this Muslim TV, their reporters are showing this and asking the question, why is this happening? Today, 2024. Wow. So here we are say, guidance. We're gone. Yo, if the program come down, it's because of this rhythm. These lyrics. So we are say things and times, cultural expression, we're gone. I know some of y'all look upon the sisters them on the screen and you say, oh, You have to go Africa, but don't go Africa just look for we women. Just go Africa and bring some of your skills, your talent, and everything. And those of you who are educationally minded, you want to know things and know things. I don't know when you get all this knowledge about this, that, or this information about this, that, and the other, what are you going to do with it? We need proactive people. We don't need people that regurgitating constantly all the time. We need people who got some suggestions, people that come with some water purification, people come with infrastructure development, people, technicians and everything, laboratory technicians, researchers, scientists. We don't need no more archaeologists. We don't need don't pick up them habits of these people, keep digging up the dead and then saying this. No. We don't need them type of people. We need people. We need teachers, man. We need doctors. You see? The continent need a wholly sophisticated people, talented people. You understand? Seriously. We need that. You know? We need that. We need that like oxygen. We need that. See? The other day, I show a whole heap of water. You know? Africa rich when it comes to water. You know? You think God forsake any areas on this earth? There's no favors that God has given us that we can deny. You understand? It's just bad-minded, bad men, people that who want to control other people, that do things and pollute the water and everything, and pollute the air and everything, and then go and like say, them know how to cure it. The best way to cure it is to leave it the way you find it and be thankful. You understand? Try and make money all the while, and everybody go to them grave. You see, you kill people and you kill yourself at the same time, but you want to make millions and millions and at the same time. It's ignorance. We have to get our children them to assault these adults. Because them adults are good. Hey, you know, when they was growing up, all this Hollywood and all this Frankenstein thing is the things that they were influenced by, and they're doing it as they get older, and you know what I mean, them get money here, there, and everywhere, and bringing all these things into fruition. That's what's happening. And many of them see them start out to be like God-fearing people. Wow, which God they talk about? You understand? So we say guidance. I did have, God willing, me come back tomorrow, because I did have some things written down about racial prejudice, discrimination, social privileges, dependability, cultural treasures, social strategy, infrastructure development, education, eliminating poverty, developing communication, information, excellence, the Suez Canal, construction. That was constructed in 1859. 1859, a long time, right? Dividing Africa and maintaining. We need to develop Africa and maintain cultural excellence, and looking at values and our perception in relation to the future. So these are headings, you know what I mean? God willing, I turn up back tomorrow and more talk. So I say guidance, give thanks. Oh, hold on. Share the link. I mean, advertise me, man. Yes, give thanks, guidance.
1, 2, 3. To Jah deliver us, I pray. Oh Lord, who paid the cost for all the innocent blood? War after war, and liberating none. Too much tribal wars, too much fighting for no.
And don't forget, you know, where they were? Repatriation. See? So listen to them lyrics, them feel good and jump around the room. Mommy, grab all of daddy, man, with them big trousers, them. Twist and turn him. Come here. Yeah, Marcia. Yeah, Aisha. Jump around. A reggae music, you know. 1,
constant war.
Yeah, can you imagine? A people them stay enough of them country and issue instructions to our people on the continent, and those instruction is to get rid of me by any cost. See? So then all of a sudden you create this infringement. But what happened is now, just like when they came, not the first time, but when they came and decided to be brutal, and there's no Arab in this, them had muskets, gun, huh? And everything, right? Them come with their muskets and swords and knives and everything that wasn't about greeting me, It's about protecting them and bullying me. But they also had this thing called the Bible. And some mirrors, you understand, glass, and some fabric. Let it be told, man, the two things, right? And when you go back and look at this, what name, not Stevenson, there was a British man that went into the continent and didn't want to come back here. And the people then find him to be hospitable and show them around. I must bring him up, huh? And so forth. But the thing is, there Sudan, an army that split in two, listening to different talking, has abused and killed and mashed up the country. Now, that is sick. Exploit their own selves. For what? And on the behalf of the British, because of them fighting for their own freedom back in the day, Britain did not give Sudan up. They took their revenge until they split Sudan. Now, they have decided to wreck Khartoum. But South Sudan is fighting also because of the wealth that's up there. That's instigated by these European oil-rich and oil-mad and gas-mad peoples. This is Africa. And Sudan is Islamic. Pure. Pure. What says you? What says you? They've dampened you to make it appear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like their Jesus. And you're not seeing it. Wrecking the image of the Ummah al-Islam, the Ummah to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Umrah now help that. Prayer can. But informing good-minded people of the evil that's being committed is more important to me than Umrah. What are you doing? You're isolating yourself and good-minded and willful people from being proactive. But you want to sit down and come with this reactive conversation? That's empty. That's empty. Che Guevara and Fidel Castro and my ancestors of Panama and Cuba went to Africa, Angola, and the Congo to help liberate them. That is history. That's factual. Salih Hisham Lukman. And all you brothers them who are string along with this, yo, I'm not an evangelist. You understand? Or orientalist. Can't work. Cannot work. You understand? And ask the leader. When I was doing Dawah to Islam, it's an African American that was my teacher. See? And I chose the path of calling people to know about Al-Islam and the Quran. When I deal with this thing about Christ this and Isa this and no. I was educated in this country. That's useless. Huh? The Prophet didn't come doing that. Prophet taught the people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 7 years, Kul hu Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Huh? And la ilaha illallah. Wham. Huh? You think he promoted himself? He did not do that. You think he didn't ask, the angels asked him to get rid of the people in Taif. Did he do that? He said, no, leave them. For it is for Allah. Huh? And it was Allah asking Gabriel to consult Muhammad in relation to his feelings, because he was the one that was being beaten. He was the one that was bruised. He was the one that was bleeding. He was the one that they set their children on to beat up. What says you, Sudan? Huh? What says you? You will get on a plane and fly away. You understand? Come on, man. Let's not reason. Let's be sincere. Let's be upful and right. Right? It's not everyone is a soldier, but we have intellect. We have sensibility. We have feelings. And we know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has directed us to, and we can do. And what is happening in Gaza, look at the good people of the earth. They're still protesting. And more of them is non-Muslims than Muslims. They're being threatened. A lot of them lost their jobs, all kind of stuff. They're victims of society. Only because they want good. They want good. They might deal with humanity. And there's no march, there's no for the wrongs that's taking place in Sudan. Yo, you brothers, stop it, man. Seriously. You gotta wake up. You're directing your energy and your thought patterns in the wrong way, man. You understand? We are African Caribbean star, right? We had some serious activists. That's how comes we have survived. You know why how we could have survived? Really and truly, we're not hills and valleys. All of us is on a piece of rock. All of us is on a piece of rock. No mountains. No mountains. And we're here. We're the people that's supposed to be like being eliminated, eradicated. But we were rebellious. We weren't those people that said, love one another. No. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. They cut off our heads and put it on stakes and everything, and we still regroup and go back again, because we want to be free. We want to be free. Look at what they've done to Haiti. Up to today, they won't allow us. They wouldn't allow us, man.
Us, I pray. Oh Lord, innocent ones. So they forget about Jaja laws that we should live in love. The war is over. Throw away your knife and guns. The Spider is calling. Show him your heart of love. The war is over. Throw away your bombs and guns. The Father is calling. Come meditate his law. 'Cause if I bread me, we share it up, share it up. If I want, me we fill your cup. If I hate, then me show you love.
How can me look for my people them? No matter how me vex with them and take a woman and rape her. It's not possible, man. And how could this happen in my thoughts? And I'm a mu'min. I'm a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one who wants to be in the steps and the light, the nur of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to come up with such despicable thinking and then act upon it, no star. And no way. No, it's no way. Not the African Caribbean. One that might be drunk, but he's not Muslim. His deen is not Al-Islam. He's Muslim because we are Muslim because we exist in this earth and we depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But his deen is not Al-Islam. Anyone that does that belong to us in terms of the people of the diaspora and African Caribbean, right? You understand? Your people, them, from their conception, is La ilaha illallah. Should be a shame. Listen.
Shit, man. We rob the street at night. Fuss and fight. We don't have no respect for a black brother. We are afraid of revolution. Man, why we are afraid of revolution? Man, why we are afraid of revolution? Black man, come here, be a tribute.
You know, sometimes people think say that white boy they write these things and give us, you know, like we don't have no mind to think and we can't see and everything. You know what I mean? Right? I'm going to so sadly wrong. You understand? Seriously. In the poverty, we don't have no nothing and everything. You understand? What we have is we integrity. You see? Make a man understand that we have we integrity. Yeah? And we're not beg for it. We have it.
Shit, man. We rob the street at night. Fuss and fight. We don't have no respect for a black brother. We are afraid of revolution. Man, why we are afraid of revolution? Man, why we are afraid of revolution? Black man, come here fi be a tribulation. Black man, come here fi fight liberation. Time for we have a revolution. Man said that time for we have a revolution. For Babylon, them a keep up corruption. Oh, them a whole lot of dread in a detention. Say them a shoot up Jaja children, it no mention. Said every day we get up and we grumble. Man, every day we get up and we humble. We too soft.
See, at that, you understand? And every time we get up for Fajr. You understand? Intentionally. Intentionally. If Allah SWT like allow us to wake, we wake for Fajr. Yes, intentionally.
Mother, mother,
speak.
There's too many of you crying.
Speak.
Brother, brother, brother,
teach.
There's far too many of you dying.
Speak.
You know we've got to find a way.
Tell them.
To bring some loving here today. Yeah. Father, Father.
Yo, mommy, mommy.
We don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer.
Teach.
For only love can conquer hate.
Talk, talk, talk.
You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't put.
Yeah, man, may I tell you. So we are saying guidance that they hurt a lot of people, man. You understand? The intention is good. I'm in love myself. You understand? I'm a family. Yeah, my wife, I look for me like me I go mad, she I say, you understand? So we have to go sort ourselves out and do good things, right? So give thanks, guidance, so go on.